Behind the lights, the fame, and the non-stop applause, Usher was quietly falling apart. His marriage crumbling, loved ones slipping away, and the pressure of staying on top for 30 years crushing him from the inside out. The man who once set stages on fire with "Yeah" was drowning in storms the world never truly knew about. This wasn't just a superstar story anymore, it was the unraveling of a man.
You got it bad, and you're on the sun. Ain't nothing before like that.
At 47, Usher's pain became heavier than ever, a tragedy that didn't start on a stage or in some headline-grabbing scandal, but in silence. It all began decades ago, in a small Dallas home back in the fall of 1978, when baby Usher was born, not knowing his world would soon split in two. When he was barely a year old, his father, Usher Raymond III, simply walked out and never returned. No goodbye, no explanation. One day he was there at the dinner table, and the next, gone. From then on, his mom, Jonetta Patton, had to carry everything on her own, working through the struggles and pain that came with raising a child alone. And even though she gave all her love, an emptiness crept into young Usher's heart, a quiet ache that not even fame or fortune could ever fix. He grew up surrounded by care, but missing something deeper, a father's presence. No one was there to cheer from the sidelines or clap from the front pew at his first church performance. Every time someone asked about his dad, his mom would go silent, and for a kid, that silence screams louder than any truth. When Usher was little, his family packed up and moved to Chattanooga, Tennessee, a rough neighborhood filled with struggle, but bursting with music. That's where his mom, Jonetta, put him in the choir at St. Elmo Baptist Church. He was just 9, standing in a room alive with gospel organs and clapping hands. His voice, soft, bright, and natural, caught everyone's attention fast. People started whispering to his mom, "That boy's got talent, don't waste it."
I wanna get some, yeah.
But with that praise came pressure. Suddenly, Usher wasn't just a kid anymore. He was the kid with the special voice. While other kids played outside, he was stuck in hours of rehearsals, performing at church events, and learning how to act polite and perfect in front of grown-ups. Those tiny expectations slowly turned into a heavy load he couldn't say no to. For his mom, this was the only way her son could break free from poverty, so she pushed him harder every day. When he turned 10, Jonetta made a fearless move. She decided Chattanooga was too small for her son's big dreams. The family headed to Atlanta, the heart of R&B and hip-hop, home to the hottest record labels in the South. It was a risky leap, but it changed everything. Atlanta in the late 80s was wild, full of talent and danger all at once. Jonetta, hardened by her past, became strict, keeping watch over his friends, his schoolwork, his sleep, and every second of his practice. She wasn't just chasing success, she was running from failure. And Usher, he grew up walking a tightrope between two worlds, one filled with cartoons and carefree laughter, and the other filled with bright lights, tough critics, and the haunting question.
If you see something greater in yourself and also to believe in yourself, you'll stay happy. You know, you'll stay young forever. You know what I'm saying?
Do you really want to be a star? At just 12, Usher didn't fully understand what being a star really meant. But he knew exactly what his mom expected from him. Everything changed at 13 when he joined a teen group called New Beginning. Suddenly, his world flipped into a mini version of the real music industry.
I wanna rock with you, baby, all night long. I wanna roll with you, lady, feel so strong. Yeah.
Long rehearsals, learning choreography, recording demos, meeting producers, and signing early contracts. Even though he was the youngest in the group, everyone saw him as the one with the most potential. And that came with serious pressure. For the first time, Usher felt what it was like to be replaceable if he wasn't perfect. That fear stayed with him, shaping the fierce drive and competitiveness that would define him on every stage to come.
What does a superstar smell like? I don't know, you tell me. You like that?
Then came the big moment. Usher appeared on Star Search. His performance lit up the screen so much that L.A. Reid instantly signed him to a development deal. That one move launched him into Layface Records, one of the biggest R&B labels of the 90s. But the dream life came with tough reality checks. While recording his debut album in 1994, Usher's voice suddenly changed because of puberty.
This is your boy Usher. How you doing? Yes, I have grazed the cover of The Cut. That's
throwing his career into chaos. Layface even hit pause on his project to let him recover. To keep him focused, Reed sent Usher to New York to live and train under Sean Puffy Combs. That experience was like boot camp. Non-stop studio sessions, dance rehearsals, interviews, and media lessons. It taught him how to perform like a pro, but it also pushed him into an adult world way too fast. Those early years, rarely talked about, built the unstoppable performer we know today. And when My Way dropped in 1997, the boy from Chattanooga officially transformed into a global superstar. Usher's rise hit another level when his album My Way exploded, selling over 7 million copies worldwide. Suddenly, he wasn't just another R&B singer, he was the young king of the genre. You Make Me Wanna top charts around the globe, and Nice and Slow gave him his very first Billboard Hot 100 #1 hit. Beyond the music, his look, leather jackets, baggy pants, that confident half smile became a national trend. Every guy wanted to dress like him, and every girl knew his songs by heart. But Usher wasn't stopping there. Hollywood took notice too. He landed roles in The Faculty, 1998, and TV shows like Moesha. They weren't huge roles, but for a 19-year-old R&B star, breaking into film was major. Industry insiders started calling him the voice of Donny Hathaway, the moves of Michael Jackson, and the star power of Bobby Brown. That mix made him unstoppable. Then came the game changer, 8701. Released in 2001, it delivered monster hits like You Remind Me and You Got It Bad, both hitting #1 and earning Usher his first 2 Grammys. The album sold more than 8 million copies worldwide, proving he wasn't just an R&B favorite, he was standing shoulder to shoulder with global pop icons. Even luxury fashion brands jumped on board to sponsor his world tour, something almost unheard of for someone his age. But everything before that was just the warm-up for what came next. Confessions in 2004. This album didn't just break records, it rewrote them. Selling over 20 million copies worldwide, it became one of the biggest albums of the decade. Yeah, ruled the charts for 12 straight weeks, while Burn, Confessions Part 2, and My Boo took turns at #1. In just months, Usher made history, joining legends like Beyoncé, Eminem, and Alicia Keys as one of the artists who defined early 2000s pop culture. After Confessions, Usher stood on top of the world, but that same success became the start of his troubles. The album was too big, too legendary, and it created a shadow he could never escape. Every new project was compared to it. The label wanted another miracle, fans expected perfection, and every show had to be flawless. Behind the spotlight, Usher wasn't just chasing hits. He was fighting to prove he was more than just another R&B star. He had to be the game changer. As the pressure grew, so did his workload. Endorsements, fashion deals, TV appearances, even a spot as a coach on The Voice. Usher was everywhere, all the time. No breaks, no mistakes, no room to breathe. But while his career was shining brighter than ever, his personal life started slipping into chaos. His long-term relationship with Chili from TLC came to a dramatic end, and the breakup exploded across the media. Suddenly, every rumor, every whisper, every heartbreak was public property. For the first time, Usher lost the one thing he'd always guarded, his privacy. Even as he reached legendary status, being called the spiritual heir to Michael Jackson brought its own kind of pain. That title sounded like glory, but it came with a haunting question. What's next? Can he ever top this? Beneath the smooth performances and perfect suits, Usher was quietly battling the pressure to stay perfect while fearing he'd already hit his peak. And he knew the truth. Once you're at the top, people stop cheering for you to rise. They start waiting for you to fall. The fame that lifted him so high was now revealing every crack in his personal life, setting the stage for storms no spotlight could hide. The cracks in Usher's life were getting harder to hide. On stage, he was a master. Every move perfect, every note under control. But off stage, things were falling apart in ways no one could have predicted. In 2007, he married stylist Tamika Foster, hoping to finally find balance after years caught in fame's chaos. Yet only weeks after the wedding, the peace he wanted started to crumble. Fans and the media turned on him fast. Social media went wild with criticism, and the press picked apart every detail of his marriage. The backlash wasn't just against Tamika, it hit Usher straight on, forcing him to choose between protecting his family and protecting his image. But the deepest pain came from home. His mom, Jonetta Patton, the woman who raised him and managed his career from the start, didn't support the marriage. Their disagreements grew into constant arguments until Usher made a heartbreaking move. He fired his own mother as his manager. In choosing love, he lost his biggest source of strength. Marriage didn't bring calm, it brought more conflict. Even with two sons together, tension over lifestyle, trust, and control grew heavier every day, and then came tragedy. Tameka's son, Kylie Glover, was seriously hurt in a jet ski accident at Lake Lanier. Usher rushed to the hospital devastated, standing by the boy's side day after day, hoping for a miracle that never came. When Kylie passed away, it broke Usher in ways the world never saw. But even in grief, the judgment didn't stop. Instead of compassion, people questioned his every action, even accusing him of not caring enough. Behind the headlines and flashing lights, Usher was just a man in pain, trying to hold his world together while it quietly fell apart. In truth, Usher was there, quietly standing in the back, away from cameras, trying to protect his family's peace while the world watched and judged. But the heartbreak didn't end there. After his split from Tameka, things spiraled into a painful custody battle that played out in court for everyone to see. Usher broke down as he talked about fatherhood, the fear of losing his kids, and the guilt of how everything had fallen apart. When he was finally granted primary custody, it didn't feel like a victory, just a lonely win that came with heartbreak. The family was fractured, and the emotional wounds were far from healed. Then, just a year later, tragedy nearly struck again. His son, Usher Raymond V, nicknamed Cinco, almost drowned in the family pool. Thankfully, he was saved in time, but the experience left Usher shaken to his core. He couldn't stop fearing that another loss might be waiting around the corner. Trying to rebuild, Usher married Grace Miguel in 2015, hoping for peace and balance. But by 2018, they quietly went their separate ways. The split was calm and respectful, but it reminded the world, and Usher himself, that while he could write perfect love songs, real love didn't come easy for him. As he faced heartbreak, he also took on new challenges as a father. His oldest son, Cinco, was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at a young age, a moment that changed everything. Usher learned to slow down, to care differently, and to be fully present. It tested him, but it also made him stronger. Then came a new chapter, fatherhood again, with girlfriend Jen Goico Echea. Their two children, Sovereign Bo and Sire, brought calm into his storm. Still, behind the fame and success, Usher's love life remained far from the smooth ballads he sang. It was marked by loss, lessons, and long nights wondering how someone with everything could still feel so empty inside. Amid the chaos of his broken marriage with Tameka Foster, another heartbreak hit Usher, one far deeper than fame or relationships could prepare him for. While his personal life was collapsing, he suddenly faced a private tragedy that cut straight to his core. This time, it wasn't a headline or a rumor. It was something real, painful, and impossible to escape. Usher's biological father, Usher Raymond III, the man who vanished from his life before he could even say dad, was dying. In 2008, he was admitted to intensive care, needing an emergency liver transplant. There was no emotional reunion, no long overdue talk, no chance to fix the years of silence. Just a hospital room, machines beeping, and a decision only Usher could make. It was cruel irony. The father who was never there now needed his son to save his life. Usher hesitated, torn between old hurt and the bond that still connected them through blood. Deep down, he wondered if by saving his father, he was really trying to save the broken child inside himself, the boy who never got a hug or a goodbye. After long reflection and advice from his friend Nelly, who understood that kind of emptiness, Usher chose forgiveness over anger. He covered all medical costs, hoping maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something new between them. But fate had other plans. During surgery, his father slipped into a coma. Doctors fought hard, but the hope faded fast. When the machines finally went quiet, Usher stood there. Not as a superstar, not as the man with awards and fame, but as a son left with questions he'd never get to ask, mourning a love that never had the chance to exist. As Usher stood in that hospital hallway, staring at the closed door, a deep emptiness filled the air. The same silence that had haunted him since childhood, now sealed forever. But before he could even process the loss, life struck again. This time with a twist so cruel, it felt unreal. At the very moment his father was taking his final breaths on the other side of town, Usher's newborn son let out his first cry. One life ending, one life beginning, two moments colliding on the same day, leaving Usher trapped in a painful paradox. He became a father at the exact moment he lost his own. It wasn't just grief, it was the heartbreak of a family cycle unfinished, where love always seemed to come too late or fade too soon. Before he could heal, new storms rolled in, scandals that hit harder and louder than anything before. By 2017, the image Usher had built for decades, clean, polished, respected, began to crumble right before the world's eyes. The same headlines that once celebrated him now turned against him. Reports surfaced claiming that years earlier, around 2012, he had been involved in a civil dispute tied to his personal life, allegedly ending in a financial settlement. Usher stayed quiet, never confirming details, but the leaked documents were enough to reignite controversy. And then it exploded. By the summer of 2017, 3 new individuals filed lawsuits represented by a powerful attorney famous for handling celebrity scandals. In just months, Usher's reputation, once seen as untouchable, was hanging by a thread. The man who had defined smooth R&B was suddenly at the center of chaos, watching the world question everything he had worked for. The accusations hit like a thunderclap. Usher was accused of not disclosing personal information before private relationships, and the lawsuits demanded millions in compensation. Almost overnight, the story blew past courtrooms and straight into the headlines. Every media outlet jumped on it, turning his name into non-stop content. From newspapers and talk shows to late-night memes flooding every corner of social media. Within days, the internet was in chaos. Legal terms were twisted, facts were chopped apart, and rumors spread faster than truth ever could. Hashtags trended worldwide. Memes mocked him, and commentary shows used his name as a punchline. Suddenly, Usher, once praised as R&B's smoothest star, became a viral headline no one could escape. But behind the noise, the weight was real. New lawsuits kept coming, some asking for up to $20 million in damages. The constant legal fees, negotiations, and endless paperwork drained both his wallet and his peace of mind. By 2019, one major case was quietly withdrawn after a private settlement. But by then, the damage was already done. The stress had taken its toll, both financially and emotionally. Meanwhile, his career was already entering a tough season. Just before the storm hit, he had released Hard to Love in 2016. It debuted respectably at number 5 on the Billboard 200, selling about 38,000 units in its first week. Not bad, but far from the massive success of Confessions. The numbers made it clear the glow that once surrounded his name was fading fast, and the world that once cheered for him was now watching to see if he'd survive the fall. 2 years later, Usher tried something new. In 2018, he dropped an experimental trap R&B album that pushed him outside his comfort zone. But it didn't hit like his past projects. The album peaked at number 31 on the Billboard 200, selling around 15,000 copies in its first week. Critics said it felt uneven and failed to make a real impact. Maybe it wasn't just the music. Maybe the timing was against him. While other artists from his era were rebranding and reinventing themselves, Usher was stuck juggling press conferences, court cases, and endless legal talk that kept dragging the spotlight away from his art. The real cost of scandal doesn't always show up in headlines. It shows up in silence. Some of his brand deals quietly disappeared. Endorsements weren't renewed. Ad campaigns were put on hold, and new ones went to other faces. Even younger artists, careful about their images, began to keep their distance. The name Usher, once a guaranteed hit in R&B, suddenly carried hesitation instead of excitement. And the damage didn't stop at his career. It hit home, too. In March 2018, Usher and his wife, Grace Miguel, announced their separation after nearly a decade together. By the end of the year, the divorce was finalized. Neither blamed the scandal directly, but the non-stop media noise made everything harder. Still, Usher refused to disappear. He kept performing, producing, and showing up on TV, proving his hustle never dies. Through it all, one thing stayed constant: his dedication to Usher's New Look Foundation, the nonprofit he started back in 1999 to help young people build leadership and purpose. Even when his world shook, his commitment to giving back never wavered. That's what kept his light shining through the chaos. Usher's career didn't collapse completely. He didn't go broke, get blacklisted, or disappear from the stage. But from 2017 to 2020, things changed. The spotlight that once crowned him unstoppable began to dim. During the 8701 and Confessions eras, every release was an instant event. But now, every new song carried the heavy echo of his past scandals. Fans and media couldn't stop digging up old stories before giving his new work a fair listen. At his peak, Usher had sold over 75 million records, won 8 Grammys, and stacked up dozens of Billboard hits. He was the blueprint, the artist who helped define R&B in the 2000s. Yet after 2017, those incredible achievements came wrapped in quiet doubt, the kind that never fully goes away. The scandal didn't destroy his talent, it just changed the game. Suddenly, every move had to be planned, every appearance measured, and every performance became another chance to rebuild trust. That was the real damage. Not money, but momentum. Then came a new test. age. Turning 47 might sound ordinary, but in the music world, especially for someone who built his legacy on energy, charisma, and dance, it's huge. For Usher, it became a battle of endurance, to stay sharp, to sing strong, and to keep that fire alive in an industry that often forgets its legends. He had to adjust everything: his workouts, his breathing techniques, his rehearsal pace. Choreographers said he still trained like he was 25, but recovery took longer now. Every show demanded focus and days of rest afterward. Still, even through the strain, one thing stayed true. When Usher hit the stage, the magic was still there. His rebirth wasn't about reclaiming fame, it was about proving that real talent never fades, it just evolves. Usher's greatest strength, his voice, had to evolve. Gone were the lightning-fast high notes of his 8701 era. Instead, he leaned into a richer, smoother tone that matched his maturity and experience. He didn't run from time, he embraced it. Then came the moment that changed everything, the Las Vegas residency. In 2021, Usher launched a series of fixed shows in Vegas, a stage only reserved for legends who can still fill seats night after night. And Usher did exactly that. Over 100 shows sold out back-to-back with audiences packed full of fans, celebrities, and music icons. Everyone came wondering if Usher, now in his 40s, still had that superstar spark. And the answer was loud and clear. Yes, his vocals were sharp, his choreography slick, and his energy unstoppable. With modernized beats and smooth transitions, Usher reminded the world why he was still the king of R&B. Then came the biggest stage of them all, the 2024 Super Bowl halftime show. Only 13 minutes long, but those 13 minutes rewrote his legacy. Dressed in all white, mic in hand, gliding across a rotating platform, Usher looked unshakable. It wasn't about escaping his past anymore. It was about owning it. The world saw a man who had faced the storms and come out stronger. That performance sparked a media explosion. His old hits climbed the charts again, new fans discovered his classics on TikTok, and Gen Z joined the movement. Usher was back. Yet, away from the spotlight, life had another side. Behind the fame stood Usher the father, raising 4 kids, 2 sons with ex-wife Tamika Foster, and 2 younger children with his partner, Jennifer Goicoechea. Fame was his stage, but family was his grounding force. Being a dad at almost 50 is no easy mission. With non-stop shows, world tours, and business deals stacking up, Usher's biggest challenge isn't fame, it's balance. He's made it clear in interviews that nothing matters more than his kids, saying the chaos of the 2000s taught him one lesson above all: being present as a father is priceless. But while finding that balance, Usher faced another battle, an artistic identity crisis. He came from the era of CDs, MTV, and radio countdowns, but the game has changed. Now it's all about streaming numbers, 7-second clips, and viral sounds that can make or break a song overnight. The new wave of R&B artists brought a different vibe, and veterans like Usher had to decide, chase the trends or stay stuck in the past. Usher didn't do either. He built a third lane, a reinvention. He reshaped his image into something wiser and more grounded. Less flash, more substance. He expanded into businesses, from restaurants and beverage brands to streetwear, tech, and real estate, proving he's more than just music. At the same time, he teamed up with younger artists, bridging generations while keeping that classic R&B soul alive. Now at 47, Usher isn't the same high-energy MTV dancer from the early 2000s, and he doesn't need to be. What he has now is something time can't take: a legacy. More than 75 million records sold, 8 Grammys, and a catalog of timeless hits. His influence shaped modern R&B itself, inspired by Michael Jackson, but carved into something entirely his own. Usher's no longer chasing the crown. He is the standard, and more than 25 years in the spotlight, that's Usher's legacy. But that same legacy isn't just glory, it's pressure. Every move, every note, every step has to honor the image he spent half his life building while still keeping up with a fast-changing world. It's tougher than any choreography he's ever done. That's why his story at 47 isn't a comeback. It's a rebirth. It's another face-off with time, another chance to prove that after every scandal, loss, and headline, he can still take the stage like no one else. With sold-out Vegas residencies, a legendary Super Bowl halftime show, booming business ventures, and a deeper connection with his kids, Usher isn't just surviving the storm, he's mastering it. This is the same man who climbed to the top, fell hard, and then rose again. Not to chase the throne, but to show the world he's still got the fire to tell his story through music. The highs, the heartbreaks, the lessons, they're all part of his song now. Because real legends aren't made by luck. They're made by how many times they rise after falling. And Usher, he's living proof that strength can shine even brighter through the cracks. If you felt that story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I'll catch you in the next one.